Okay, there's quite a lot of you guys, so welcome and thank you for showing up. I didn't expect that many of you actually, so are you sure you don't want to join the other talk that's taking place right now in the other room? It's about game graphics, so no? Anybody? Okay. Well then, I am aware that it's still pretty early in the morning, especially if we consider that quite a lot of us attended the pre-party last night. So if anybody feels tired and needs a nap, feel free, just please don't snore. Okay, now enough of fooling around. As Pavel already told you, my name is Agnieszka Szóstak, and over the past couple of years, I was working as a PR specialist for CD Projekt RED, working on The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077. But eventually, Geralt turned out to be a very possessive man. So I decided to move on and start my own company called PR Outreach and basically help indie developers and other game industry professionals. Now, if there's one thing that surprised me most while working for CD Projekt RED, that was probably, in fact, how little people know about what PR really is and what people like myself do. So what our job is all about. And during different discussions, it actually turned out that not only my family or friends have troubles defining that, but quite often, and that was quite surprising for me, even game developers or journalists couldn't really say, what is it that you do? So what's your job is all about? And I think that if you cannot really define something, then you cannot use it. So when thinking about the topic for today's talk, I decided I'm going to go with the basics. So tell you guys what, who, how, and with what tools. On the other hand, I didn't want this talk to be yet another boring babble about, what is PR and how to write a press release and 10 best ways of getting it published, because it's all there, so you can find it in books or in the internet. Instead, I wanted to give you like an inside look to this industry. And to do that, I actually questioned myself if I really know what the people I work the closest with, so the journalists, if I really know what they really need and what they think about PR and what their true expectations are. So to check that, I decided to prepare a survey, and I did. And I picked up a couple of questions and sent them to all the journalists I knew, asking them to provide feedback and to provide answers. And over 100 of them from all over the world came back to me with their answers. And they were representing all kind of media, like online, print. They were from all over the world. And I have to tell you guys that the answers they shared with me, there are a couple of them that were quite surprising even for myself, because they kind of question something we call like a common PR knowledge. So something you consider, this is how you do it because this is how you've done it for a couple of years. While in fact, when talking with those guys, it turns out that maybe we should sometimes change our approach. Now, without further ado, let's start with what is PR basically. So the first, is it working? Should I be by the computer to make it work? Yep, it's not working. Okay, so what is PR? Yet again, I believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So instead of sharing a definition, I will show you a couple of pictures that I believe pretty nicely explain what this job is all about. As a disclaimer, please forgive me low quality of those. Now, what is PR? What my friends think I do as a PR specialist. Well, for most of the time, they're pretty sure, sorry this picture is dark, but they're pretty sure I'm just partying all the time. Basically what you see or not see on this picture, it's myself and my colleague doing like air guitar during one of the industry events. So my friends think that my job is all about parties all the time. Now, second question is what my parents or my family think I do. Well, they believe that my job is all about traveling to all the cool places in the world, like Sydney Opera, right? How fancy is that? That's their point of view. Now, the third question's what I think I do. Well, I believe that I stand alone among the mighty forces. Now, this picture is pretty funny because you see myself, and I'm sitting at the reception desk at a Gamescom booth for CD Projekt RED, and there's a gameplay trailer showing in the back, and this was actually displayed on a TV while I was sitting at the reception desk. So I believe that I stand alone among the mighty forces when doing PR. And finally, what community thinks I do. Now, some of you guys might remember that not so long ago we had the Witcher 3 gameplay leak. And I was the evil one responsible for blocking all the links and making sure that it's there for no longer than 3 seconds. So when I was doing that, actually one of the greatest moments that happened to me, you know, community should probably hate me for that because they wanted the gameplay footage and I was blocking it. While in fact, I managed to build quite a good relationship with those guys. So when I was fighting with the leak, this is what they did. So basically, they prepared a meme making a girl out of me. And if you remember the first CG trailer for The Witcher 3, there's a scared soldier that asks Geralt, what are you doing? And Geralt answers, killing monsters. Well, community prepared this, what are you doing? Killing leakers. Well, this is what they consider me doing as a PR person. And then, what journalists think I do. Now, this is yet again a pretty dark picture, so I'm going to explain what's on it. Basically, on the ground, there's a huge pile of green glass, which is nothing else than just bottles of beer. And this is the official Sony party at Gamescom. So whenever I meet journalists, basically, they think that I drink all the time. And this is the large part of my job. Now, the final question, what I really do. Now, I want you guys to be aware that at the end of the day, there's no glamour, there's no traveling, there's no partying, but there's just tiring day-to-day work, which quite often ends like this. So basically, you're just tired so freaking much that you're able to sleep anywhere. And yet again, this is me, backstage Gamescom for The Witcher when we were giving out like thousands of t-shirts, and eventually I just fall asleep in one of the cardboards during the show. So now, when you know what PR is, now one of the biggest questions you're going to have to answer yourself, whether you're an indie developer or a bigger company, eventually you will have to decide who will lead your PR campaign. And there are 3 basic choices here. You can either go with a big PR agency, or you can go with a smaller one, or you can decide to do it yourself. Now, of course, each solution has its pros and cons. So we're going to start with pros for a big PR agency. Now, obviously, you can count on big media outreach, because these guys have a large network of contacts. They've probably been around for a while, so they know all the journalists. They have like large databases. So it's pretty much guaranteed that they're gonna get you covered this way or another. They also have excellent reporting tools simply because they can afford it. So when you hire those guys and you pay them, you can be sure they're going to provide you with basically every kind of data you may possibly need about your campaign and the job they're doing for you. And also, it's quite common that you're going to get like a dedicated person who will lead the campaign. And this person is going to take care only about this particular project. Now, obviously, there are also cons of having the PR agency, like a big one, doing the job for you. And costs. That's pretty obvious. Big guys are expensive, no doubts about it. But it's not the only problem. The other problem quite often is the kind of lack of personal attitude, because they help many clients and they treat it completely like a business. You're just yet another company to them. So don't really expect them being engaged or getting very personal with your project. And finally, my favorite one, because this is something I can share with you from my professional experience yet again. When you have a business meeting with said big PR agency, they will always tell you that our best specialist within our company gonna take care of your game. This is what you're being told. While in fact, you may end up with an intern doing the job for you. And here's yet another example from CD Projekt RED. At some point, we hired a PR agency. I'm not gonna share the name, even the country where it was from. It was supposed to help us out with one of the industry trade shows. And this is exactly what they told us, that our best specialist is assigned to work on the project. Well, I got friends with the guy, and this is what turned out. First, he started working for the company like 3 months before. Second, he wasn't even a PR person. Actually, he was a game developer. And he ended up applying for a job at CD Projekt RED and actually asked me to help him find the job. So this is the specialist we got. Now, think about it. If this is what happens to a pretty large studio CD Projekt RED is, then what kind of treatment can you expect if you're an indie developer with way lower budget and a smaller game? So this is definitely something you should be aware of. Now, this is the first time the journalists step in to provide an answer to one of the very important questions that may possibly allow you to decide whether a big PR agency or a smaller one is a good choice for you. And now, the question is, basically, what pisses the journalists off most when they get in touch with a PR company, PR representative that's doing the job for the studio? Now, the answer, I believe, should be pretty obvious at this point. Because when they don't get a reply, that pisses them off massively. Now, why is this important? I'm going to share yet another example. If there's a big PR agency working on a couple of big titles, like hot AAA games that media are inquiring about a lot, well, that basically means that during like calm times and there's not much going on, this agency about one particular game will probably get around 300 emails one day. Now, if it's a little bit more busy time, that means that this number can raise to 800. And when it's a PR campaign peak, so everybody's insanely busy, it can actually happen that you're going to get 2,000 emails. Now, 2,000 emails a day, one title. And now think, where in this huge pile of emails is this one regarding your cool but yet small indie game? And what chances it has that the big PR agency is going to pick it up on time? So that's probably the biggest threat you should be aware of. Well, then maybe for indie studios, it's better to go with a small PR company. That might be like a perfect choice, especially that those guys are obviously way cheaper. They also tend to have a more personal approach to the project. They engage a little bit more. And also, there's tend to be a bigger flexibility on many different levels. So it can be like planning-wise, it can be finance-wise, there tend to be a little bit more supportive. But of course, there are also cons. And you have to be prepared that within a small PR agency, you won't have a dedicated person to take care of your project because there's one person responsible for a couple of them. So you may have like communication lags, for example. Then there's either none or very little reporting data, simply because small PR agencies are not always able to afford them. And finally, those guys also have very limited possibilities of negotiating best rates for, let's say, advertising space. Usually, big PR agencies have discounts and they have deals they negotiated over the years. They have relationships set up. Smaller guys don't have that. So this is something you're probably going to be missing. Okay, so, you know, small PR agency doesn't seem to be that perfect either. So we have the third solution. You can always represent yourself. And this particular solution, at the first glimpse, seems to have only pros. Why? Well, because there's no additional costs involved. You're already doing the job. You will be just doing more of it. Now, you're also fully dedicated to the project. Your game is your child. You're completely focused on it. So, of course, you're going to be passionate about it and will try to do the job the best that you can. And finally, you have the full control. So there are no communication lags. There are no situation when you said something and it didn't happen or something different happened. There's exactly happening the stuff you planned to be happening. But before we go to what's negative about it, we're going to allow journalists to answer yet another important questions, which is, with whom actually they prefer to talk to. So is it me as a trained PR specialist? Or maybe they prefer to talk to biz dev guys or marketing, or maybe, in fact, they prefer to talk to you guys as developers. Now, I think that at this point, the answer should be pretty obvious for you as well. Because as you can see, these days, almost half of the journalists prefer to talk to you guys. Now, I would like to emphasize that actually, this changed massively over the past couple of years, because it used to be that the journalists preferred to talk to PRs, like myself. And they were kind of used to it. We were trained to do it. It was normal that we represent the game and we're the spokesperson for the title. While these days, they definitely try to avoid talking to us because they consider us, I mean, let's face it, just lying to them and selling like PR bullshit. So they prefer to talk to you guys. And this is a very good news for you and something I would like to encourage you to do. So don't be afraid to do interviews. Don't be afraid to talk to media. Forget about the fact that your accent might not be perfect and that there's something like language barrier, whatever. Media, you know, they don't really care. What they do care about is your team, your game, so you should use every possible opportunity to talk with them. Now let's think about it. I show you the pros for representing yourself. Now it also turns out that media prefer to talk to you guys instead of us. So maybe, in fact, you don't need us. Maybe for the whole time we've been kind of lying to you and hypnotizing you and telling you you need to have a PR rep to kind of represent your game well. Well, as you can see, there are only pros. Media, they don't even like to talk to us anymore. So, you know, maybe that's the perfect solution for you. Well, like everything, this solution has its cons as well, and basically it's the lack of everything. So for most of the time, you guys don't have the time to do it. And then quite often, especially when you start, you don't have proper media contacts, so people you know and you can reach out to. And finally, at least at the beginning, you're also missing at least basic PR knowledge. And yet again, important question related to that. When I was thinking about the topic, one of the most important things I asked the journalists, so when they get in touch with you or a PR company representing you, when would they like to get an answer? So if a journalist is getting in touch with a PR company saying, I want to interview about this war of mine, for how long they're able to wait for the answer. Now, as you can see, almost 70% of those said that they want an answer within first 24 hours. Now, think about it. You have to develop the game. You have to plan your PR and marketing strategy. And in between, somewhere in between, you also have to do emails and provide 24-hour support for journalists. Now, consider time zone changes and all the kind of stuff. If you're able to do that, if you're able to connect this all, that's lovely. Then my advice would be go for it. But if you think you don't have the time and resources, this is exactly where we step in. And this one thing which I want to talk about a little bit more is that this thing is pretty heavily connected with building strong and solid media relations. Probably one of the most important part of my job, and we will discuss it a little bit further. But before that, we're gonna focus on like basic PR campaign milestones. Now you're well aware that developing a game has certain milestones that usually don't change. So you have vertical slice, you have alpha, you have beta, you have gold master. For most PR campaigns, there are also milestones you can define that don't really change. Of course, that depends on a game. It's different for mobile, it's different for PC. But obviously, at some point, you have to announce the game, and that's your first step. Then, further in the process, usually there's something like a preview code sent out, so you give the media the first chance to take a look at your game. Then eventually there's a review. You can, of course, decide whether it happens before the official release or after it. And then there's the release itself. Now, a question related to that is embargoes. Now, I consider this one pretty much one of the most hated terms in this industry, because whenever embargo was mentioned, media were getting angry, like, all the time. So I was sure that actually they hate them. And that's why I was trying to avoid them whenever possible. While, in fact, when I asked them, this is what they said. And all of a sudden, it turned out that, yet again, almost 70% are quite okay with them, and they have no problem with them, which is, yet again, a really good information for you guys, because if you think that for a better building, let's say, hype for your game, you need an embargo, then don't be afraid to set up one. Just be very detailed about it. So say straight from the beginning that there is an embargo for, let's say, publishing news or posting a review, and give a date and time, and also a time zone, because remember that 12 p.m. in Europe is different than 12 p.m. in the US, and this can cause you a lot of problems. So be very, very detailed about it. Now, when you know what are the basic milestones in your PR campaign, you also have to consider preparing assets for it. And this is probably one of the things that independent developers are struggling very much. Yet again, because for most of the time, those teams simply don't have the resources, like human resources, dedicated to preparing assets specifically. So you have to connect, developing the game and then preparing promo materials for it. Now, on this list, you can basically see a list of assets that I was normally trying to get and pushing hard for it to get it from, back in the day, from the Witcher team. Why is that? Because, yet again, this is something called a common PR knowledge. So the list of assets should be diverse. There should be something for everybody. So for vloggers, online, print, and basically, the more, the better. Now, the question related to that, I asked the journalists, was what kind of assets, in fact, they consider being most useful for them. And if you take a look at the answers, first two seem to be pretty obvious these days, that media obviously need videos and screenshots. Then there's a little interest about the rest, but let's take a look about the third one, which was pretty surprising for me. It turns out that actually, on the third place, we have a fact sheet. So something I always thought journalists are not really reading, they don't really need that, they kind of consider it boring, they consider it yet another marketing tool where we sell them PR bullshit. Well, in fact, they appreciate it and they expect it to get it. So you should really take your time to prepare one and prepare it well. Because that's your propaganda too. You can basically put there anything you think it's important. So all the wording, all the game main features, the whole description, whatever you think journalists should be aware of, and via journalists, gamers should be aware of. Now just remember that if you're providing this fact sheet in a digital form, don't you ever prepare it in PDF format. Simply because PDFs are nice when you print them and hand them out, but if you're doing like a digital version of the document, remember, copy-paste is every journalist's best friend, so just make their life easier and prepare it in Word format. Now, this is probably the part where, from this very place, I should say, dear Witcher team, I'm very deeply sorry. Because here I asked how many assets, in fact, they need to be able to do a good story, like a proper coverage. Now, yet again, common PR knowledge. I was always told by journalists, by other PR representatives, that in one media kit, in one assets batch, journalists should get from 10 up to 15 assets. Now, that's a lot. Even for a big studio that have a dedicated team to do so, that's a lot. For independent studios, that's hell of a lot. But I was told that, you know, if you want to have a couple of pages of coverage, if you need a cover story, we need to have the choice. We need to have something to pick up from. So we need 10, 15 assets. Well, in fact, yet again, when I asked the journalists, it all of a sudden turned out that I could easily cut this number to 1/3. Because apparently, it's enough to deliver them 3 to 5 screenshots, and they're okay. Which is, yet again, a really good news for you guys when you're always struggling with delivering assets. Because from your point of view, the less, the better. So this is how it really looks like. And the question related to assets, so what's the deadline for delivering those? Yet again, I was usually told that it's like 2 weeks sharp. We need to get the whole package 2 weeks before the story happens. While when I asked them, all of a sudden it turned out that 2, 3 days is totally okay. And again, it's brilliant news for you guys because you have more time to prepare the assets. One important disclaimer though, 2 weeks ahead stays true if we're talking about the print story. So for print, you really need to have like 2 weeks ahead. One of the most controversial terms, I'd say, so next to embargoes, there are exclusives. Here's a pro tip for you guys. Don't you ever ask any journalist if they need anything for exclusive, because the only answer you're going to get is yes. And some journalists will even tell you it's either exclusive or the story is not happening. But if you give them a chance to tell you like more anonymously what they think, then you're going to get an answer that they can totally live without it, and exclusive is absolutely not a must. Unless, of course, it's very, you know, openly said that we need an exclusive and there's no negotiating about it. What do you do then? I quite often find people thinking that if they're able to convince one big media outlet to feature their kick-ass trailer on a main website, and the trailer gets, let's say, 100,000 views, that's a success. Now, try to think differently about it. And this is something I was trying to do, which actually worked pretty nicely. Forget about exclusives and try to work on something I call semi-exclusives. So let's say there are different outlets that kind of have their thing with different development processes. Let's say IGN. IGN gonna get the video, of course, but also they're very into, you know, behind the scenes stuff. They like to write about like hidden Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff. If you know that, that's perfect. Give them the video and give them the list of such things hidden in the video. They're gonna be happy. Then you say Machinima. Machinima loves to talk with game developers. Well then, give them the video and an interview with the game direction. Then GameSpot doesn't really care about, you know, Easter eggs or talking with the devs, but they're all about screenshots. No problem. Give them the video and give them like a pack of 3 exclusive screenshots no one else's have. And this way, doing that with a couple of outlets, you may actually end up with your video being featured by, let's say, 5 websites. And instead of 100,000 views, you're going to get 500,000 views. And that's a success. Now, let's talk about a little bit about pitching a story to media, and this is the part where we're going to be focusing a little bit more about building a solid media relations. Why? Because first, you have to do your lesson. Quite often when I talk with independent game developers, they think that, look, I have a database of, I don't know, 500 emails to journalists. I'm going to just send out a press release that my game is, you know, being worked on. It's in progress. And it's a kick-ass game and everybody gonna cover it. No. First of all, start with research. So check who's already covering games similar to yours. Who's and what's writing about those kind of games. Who's writing positive stuff, who's writing negative stuff. Make a list of outlets and make a list of journalists. learn and kind of try to know the outlets and the journalists, because like every one of us, we all have our own preferences. So there are journalists who cover only strategy games, those that prefer, I don't know, RPGs, or those that only play casual. So if you will try to pitch a story about your strategy game to somebody who's only playing, I don't know, Call of Duty, then he will simply ignore your news. So the second step you have to do, start a relationship. And this is really important. Before you blast media with any kind of news, try to introduce yourself to them. Try to tell them who you are, what do you do. Ask if they're okay with you sending them once in a while an information about the project you're currently working on. And most of all, whenever possible, before you ask for anything, try to offer them help first. And this all should happen before you actually send out a press release. Why? Because none of us likes to be treated anonymously. So if you just simply blast media with your press release because you have this database of addresses, email addresses, your message is going to be ignored at best, or you're going to end up on spam list at worst. That's why building a relationship with those folks is so important. And of course, you cannot have the same relationship with everybody. Like in my case, there are people who I know better and those who I don't know that much. There are people that I consider friends and those that I have like a more formal relationship with. But still, with quite a lot of those guys, I can tell you who got married, who has kids, whose dog or cat is sick. They send me their pictures from vacation and I tell them what rock show I was attending last weekend. So remember, work is only work and we all like to have a break from time to time. You just have to be very careful with bringing the relationship you already have to this next level, not to look unprofessional. And then after sending out a press release, there's always a matter of follow-up, which we will discuss in details a little bit further. Now, here's a next myth within the industry. I'm pretty sure all of us here heard that press releases are old school, they don't work, nobody even reads them anymore, they're boring, media are completely ignoring it. Well, if that's the case, well then, how come almost 100% of them said that they actually consider press releases useful? So don't skip this tool. Yes, it is old school. Yes, you have to follow up later on, but still you should be doing it. You should be sending out the press release every once in a while about the project you're working on. And this was actually the question I always wanted to ask the journalists, and this talk and this survey gave me a chance to do so. So how many press releases a day this or that journalist actually gets? Because yet again, I heard myths about it. It was like thousands of them, hell a lot. We don't even count because, you know, our mailboxes are spammed with press releases all the time. While in fact, when I asked them, it turned out that almost half of the people I talked to only get between 10 and 30 press releases a day. Now, it's less than I expected, but still it's pretty much, so you have to make sure that your press release is simply interesting and the title for it catches the eye. Because journalists really, you know, read the headlines. So it's like, not, aha, click. So you have to make sure that your press release is this one click. And this is a very difficult question and actually something that the answer you guys won't be happy about. Because you always have to follow up with media simply because they're approached by many teams and about many games. So once you send out press release, once you tell them that preview or review build is available, you have to eventually follow up afterwards. Now, question is, when can you do it? Not for them to feel, you know, being pushed too hard. And as like I said, you might not like the answer in this particular case simply because 40% of them said that they expect you to follow up no earlier than 3 to 5 days. Now, why is it a bad news? Because 3 to 5 days is almost the whole working week. And when you are leading your Kickstarter campaign, which basically normally takes 4 weeks, or when you just started your pre-order campaign for your game. You obviously want everybody to cover the news and to write about it right now and immediately. And 5 days, one whole working week, is like 1/4 of your Kickstarter campaign. And yet again, media are going to be angry if you're going to send out the press release and an hour later, a day later, you're going to poke them about it, what's going on and why is it not posted? Because they don't expect it to happen earlier than after those 5 days. And finally, this is the question I got asked pretty often by all kind of developers out there, like big ones and small ones. So what do I do when media ask me a question I cannot really answer? Because normally they say that, you know, a no comment will do. Well, not anymore. Actually, media hates that, so don't you ever use that one. It's very, very okay to simply say you cannot answer a particular question. It's even more okay to explain why. So be open, be honest. If you cannot answer a question, that's okay, tell about it. If you cannot answer because it's too early in development, admit it. If you cannot answer because it's an engine-related question and you're a graphic, take the question, tell it you're going to pass it on to your programmers and get back with answer. Journalists, for most of the time, going to appreciate this kind of honesty and just going to accept this answer. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Agnieszka. I think we have now time for some questions, if there are any.
If there are none, we can go for a coffee, everybody.
No questions? All right, I have one question. How important is it for indie developers to use Facebook, Twitter, and other social networks comparing to this kind of?
You're gonna hate me. You're gonna hate me for an answer, but I'm gonna answer on two levels. On one level, I really do believe it's a little bit overrated. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but what I did recently, I completely removed every single site I was following on Facebook. And every single company profile I had there, simply because I was tired with, you know, all the advertisements, all the announcements. I couldn't even notice the posts from my colleagues. On the other hand, it does a job really, really well when you're doing a crowdfunding campaign. And this is something I would like to emphasize, that for quite some times and quite some developers, they think that if their Kickstarter campaign gonna get featured on IGN or Kotaku or Rock Paper Shotgun, then they already won, because that's gonna bring them tons of bakers. Well, not true, and I can tell you from the campaign we've recently done, the campaign was featured by IGN. There was a huge interview with the team. And if you wanna know how many bakers it took to the campaign, well, from this particular coverage from IGN, the company only got like $400, and they wanted to gather 250K. So 400, it's like nothing. And this was out of IGN. And this is exactly where social media is so important, because you guys quite often think that first you start your Kickstarter campaign and then the shit happens. Well, it doesn't. You have to start work like way, way earlier on actually building the community. So this is when Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever social media channel you can possibly find is very efficient, and you should totally use it way, way ahead before you actually start this kind of campaign, because without your supporters and the community behind, you simply won't be able to make it. And those tools are the best to do it.
Okay, just one question. How do you choose your clients, or did you have to refuse a potential client because you didn't like the game, or you think the game sucks and it would be a total failure?
And I don't represent it. We've been actually talking about it, I think, last night during pre-party. You know, the truth is that a good PR person should have like a good nose for the game. Is it gonna sell or not? Is it good or not? And of course, every one of us, like you guys, want to work on cool projects. Well, as PRs as well, we want to, you know, promote cool games. Simply because this makes our job easier. If it's a good game, interesting game, in any way innovative game, having like different approach, like this War of Mine, for example, then our job as a PR is way, way easier. And if we have to kind of push to media something that was done 100 times before, and we have a feeling that the game sucks, then the miracle simply won't happen. So of course, yes, for us, from one point, it's better to pick up very carefully what we represent, also because we put our name on it. On the other hand, you have to remember that at the end of the day, every game deserves a support, like a promo support. So it's very difficult. I would like to say that, I'm at the position when I can say no to particular titles. But I don't think I'm at this very position at this very moment. So yes, there were a couple of times when I said no to a title. But for most of the time, I tried to help the developers to make the game better. So if I believe that there's something missing, or they're completely missing the messaging, or I should maybe push them in a different direction, that's what I try to do. Because eventually it may work, but that's always a risk.
We have time for last question, so you guys over here.
I wanted to ask, how many time do you spend daily on a project? By the way, we had a Kickstarter campaign, and we had a terrible problem to find a PR agency, because all the big PR agencies refused us or haven't even answered to our question. Yep. And in the end, the one that chose us were quite happy with the result, but that was surprising to me that nobody even answered to us at first. But I would be interested how much time PR agent spends on the game, because we paid a lot of money for it. So
yes, that's a really good question, actually. Well, I can tell you this: during busy times and busy times like the end of the year, I work like 16 hours a day, so it's like 8 hours and 8 hours, and I try to divide it between clients like equally. So let's say I have, I don't know, 6 clients. So I work for like 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours. But sometimes you cannot do that, because that differs, obviously. So you can have like a calmer time with one project, and then more busy time, like a Kickstarter time, for a different client. Now, honestly speaking, I can tell you how much time they should spend, and they should actually be working on it 8 hours a day to make it work. So they should be totally focusing on Kickstarter only while it's lasting. Why? Because it's all about following up. If you hire them only to pitch your campaign to media, if they don't do like social media for you as well, they just all about getting in touch with media and getting the game covered, they should do it on a daily basis, like 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, at least, simply because sending emails and calling people and following up, doing research, also finding journalists who may be potentially interesting with the story, trying to figure out what's the story behind the campaign. This all takes time. And I can also tell you why this was pretty much ignored by bigger PR agencies. Well, the ugly truth is that both PR agencies and media are pretty tired with all the Kickstarter campaigns. I'm subscribed to different mailing lists from different PR agencies, and I can actually get 40 press releases a day, and all of them about Kickstarters. So if there's not a story behind it, if it's only about there's Kickstarter up, it's not a news anymore. You need something added to it. So I don't know, famous team working on a project, you have like famous name in it. It's an innovative game or innovative approach. And the role of a PR agency is also to find this kind of story. But yet again, like I told you, it takes time, so they should really be working on it on a daily basis.
I'm afraid we don't have... Okay.
He's going to troll me. I'm not sure if I want to answer that one.
Yes, I am. If you would be offered PR job for the guys who are making hatred game, the really, really, really violent one, would you pick it?
I told you he's going to troll me, because he knows exactly I'm working on the title. Yes, I can tell you how it looked like. We had several meetings with the guys before the game was announced. And I'm a good girl. I'm not a rebel. And when they told me what kind of way they want to go, not only with the game itself, but also like with the messaging about it, I was like, don't do it. That's too risky. It's going to be controversial very much. You're gonna get covered, that's for sure. But the question is, if you guys want a black PR, basically, like a negative one, everybody gonna cover you, but everybody gonna hate you for that hatred game. So if you're ready for this. And when I think about my role as a PR person, that's pretty much it. My role at the very beginning is to tell the team I'm working with what are the threats, what can they expect, maybe there's something we should try to avoid. And believe it or not, I was trying to convince them not to do it. But they were like, look, we're an independent studio that nobody ever heard of. This is our first game, and we're from Poland, from the end of the world. Everybody's gonna ignore us, so we have to do something. And even though they claim that the gameplay is gonna be good, it's way too early in development for me even to try the game, so I haven't played it. But so they say that the gameplay is gonna be good and the game gonna defend itself. But at this point, that was like a very planned and kind of decision they were aware of. They knew it's going to, you know, there's going to be a huge communication blizzard, basically, and it did. And you don't want to know what kind of emails we got about, you know, us being sick bastards, in short, releasing this kind of game. But yes, I agreed to work on it, and you know, I believe, like I said, that every client at the end of the day kind of, you know, should have a supporter if he needs one. And we are here, we are people for hire. So if there's somebody saying that, look, I need your support and I believe you're a good person for the job, then why not? Thank you.